Captain Jake Morrison stood at the viewing window of the alien ship looking down at Earth. His home planet looked sick. Brown clouds covered most of the land. The oceans had turned dark green. Cities lay in ruins, their lights gone out forever. "It is worse than our report suggested," said Council Prime Veltash, the tall blue alien standing beside him. The Zenthari leader's 4 eyes showed what humans might call sadness. "Your species has perhaps 10 years before total extinction." Jake nodded slowly. He had seen the numbers. The great solar flare of 2387 had destroyed everything electronic on Earth. Without technology, billions died in the first year. Disease and hunger killed millions more. The survivors lived in small groups, fighting over scraps of food and clean water. "We came as soon as we detected the flare's effects," continued Veltash. "The Galactic Council has debated your situation for 6 months. We have reached a decision." Dr. Lisa Zhang, Earth's chief scientist, joined them at the window. She was thin and tired, like most humans these days. "What kind of decision?" she asked. Sage Mordena, the wise leader of the Kethmoran Federation, stepped forward. The alien looked like a giant insect covered in silver fur. When it spoke, its voice sounded like music. "We will save your species," it said. "This is our gift to the galaxy." Jake felt his heart race. "Save us? How?" "Complete technological package," explained Veltash. "Medical supplies for 50 years, terraforming equipment to clean your world, ships to carry your people to new planets, energy systems to power your cities, everything you need to rebuild." Lisa's eyes went wide. "That must cost 847 trillion galactic credits," said Mordena. "More money than your species has ever seen." Jake felt dizzy. He had learned about galactic credits during his short time on the council station. 1 credit could buy food for a human family for a year. The amount they were offering was impossible to imagine. "What do you want from us?" Jake asked. He had been a soldier before the flare. He knew nothing came free. Veltash showed his teeth in what Jake had learned was a Zenthari smile. "We want you to live, to grow, to become part of our galactic community." "There must be terms," said Lisa. Dena nodded. "Of course. You will repay the debt over 500 years. The interest rate is very low, only 2% per year. You may take longer if needed. You may pay early if you wish." Jake did quick math in his head. Even with low interest, humans would owe over 2 trillion credits by the end. "What if we cannot pay?" "Then you cannot pay," said Veltash simply. "We do not make war over money. This is charity, Captain Morrison. We help because we can." "Ambassador." Rick Torres, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke. "Why? Why help us? You barely know us." The 2 alien leaders looked at each other. Jake could see they had discussed this question before. "Your species interests us," said Mordena. "In the short time since we discovered you, we have learned much. Humans are unusual." "How?" asked Lisa. "You fight when others would surrender," explained Veltash. "You create when others would give up. You adapt faster than any species we have met. Even now, with your world dying, you sent representatives to meet with us. Most species would wait to die." "We believe humans have potential," added Mordena. "Perhaps great potential. We would like to see what you become when you are not struggling to survive." Jake looked at his small team. Lisa was brilliant but exhausted. Rick was a good diplomat, but worried. They were the best Earth could send, but they felt very small in this massive alien station. "If we agree," Jake said slowly. "What happens next?" "We begin immediately," said Veltash. "Our ships are already loading supplies. Medical teams are ready to go to Earth. Engineering crews will start cleaning your atmosphere within days. Your people can start moving to prepared colonies within 6 months," added Mordena. "We have already selected 12 systems with suitable planets. They will be ready for human settlement." Lisa shook her head in amazement. You planned all this before we even answered? We hoped you would say yes, admitted Veltash. Refusing would mean your extinction. We did not think humans would choose death over debt. Jake felt the weight of decision on his shoulders. He represented what was left of humanity. 7 billion people were counting on him, but something about this deal worried him. This seems too generous, he said. What do you really gain from this? The two aliens exchanged another look. This time Jake caught something in their expressions. Not dishonesty, but perhaps an amusement. We gain the knowledge that we helped, said Mordena. This is enough. And perhaps, added Veltash quietly, we gain interesting neighbors. Rick leaned closer to Jake. Can we trust them? He whispered. Jake studied the alien faces. In his military career, he had learned to read people. These beings seemed honest. More importantly, humanity had no choice. Without help, Earth would be empty within 10 years. We accept, Jake said firmly. Humanity accepts your generous offer. Veltash clapped his four hands together. Excellent, Mordena, please prepare the Salvation Compact for signing. As the sage moved to a nearby console, Jake felt both relief and worry. Relief that his species would survive. Worry about what they were truly agreeing to. Captain Morrison, said Veltash softly, you have made the right choice. Your species will not regret this decision. I hope not, Jake replied, watching as Mordena returned with a glowing document. I really hope not. The signing took only minutes. Jake's signature committed humanity to the largest debt in galactic history. As he handed back the document, he wondered what his people would think of him in 50 years. The first supply ships will reach Earth tomorrow, announced Veltash. Medical teams will arrive within the week. Your species' recovery begins now. Jake nodded, still feeling the weight of what he had done. Outside the viewing window, Earth waited for salvation. Inside the alien station, the galaxy's newest debtor species had just been born. None of them knew that this moment would be remembered as the day everything changed. Not just for humanity, but for the entire galaxy. 25 years had passed since Jake Morrison signed the Salvation Compact. Earth looked completely different now. Clean blue skies stretched over rebuilt cities. Green forests covered land that had been dead soil. The planet hummed with activity. Admiral Kate Sullivan walked through the main shipyard on Luna Base, watching workers build the newest human vessels. The ships looked similar to standard galactic designs, but Kate knew they were different in important ways. The engines are ready for testing, Admiral, said Dr. Ben Phillips, hurrying to catch up with her. The quantum physicist carried a data pad full of numbers that excited him greatly. Tell me again why this will work, Kate said, stopping beside the massive ship under construction. Ben smiled widely. Traditional faster-than-light travel needs Zephyrite crystals. They are rare and expensive. The aliens control all the mines, but human engines use quantum tunneling instead. We can go just as fast using materials we can make ourselves. Kate nodded. She understood enough science to know this was important. How many ships can we build with this technology? As many as we want, Ben replied. The materials are common. Iron, copper, silicon, things we find on every planet. Engineer Maya Patel joined them at the viewing platform. She had been designing ships for 15 years, ever since graduating from the new technical schools Earth had built with alien help. The first test flight is tomorrow, Maya announced. Captain Rodriguez will pilot the Morrison Drive prototype to Alpha Centauri and back. Kate felt proud hearing the drive named after the man who had saved their species. Jake Morrison had died 3 years ago, but his children carried on his work in the human government. How long will the trip take? Kate asked. 6 hours round trip, said Maya. The same journey takes alien ships 14 hours with traditional drives. Kate tried not to show her excitement. Faster ships meant better trade routes. Better trade routes meant more money. More money meant humans could pay their debt faster than planned. Across the solar system, Trade Minister Craig Davis was having similar thoughts. He sat in his office on Earth, reviewing reports from human colonies. The numbers amazed him. Human farmers had increased food production on colony worlds by 40%, using new growing techniques. Human manufacturers built products faster and cheaper than alien companies. Human traders found markets that other species had ignored. "Sir," said his assistant, bringing him a new report. "The quarterly trade summary is ready." Craig opened the file and whistled softly. Human trade had grown by 15% in just 3 months. They were now exporting goods to over 200 alien worlds. "What are our biggest exports?" he asked. "Medical supplies, manufacturing equipment, and food," the assistant replied. "Also entertainment programs. Aliens seem to enjoy human movies and music." Craig chuckled. Humans had worried about being interesting enough for galactic society. Instead, other species found human culture fascinating. Human restaurants opened on alien worlds. Human sports became popular across the galaxy. But Craig knew the real revolution was not in entertainment. It was in economics. Humans had taken the alien gift of technology and improved it. They found ways to make things better, faster, and cheaper. On the colony world of New Texas, Colonel Amy Foster was learning this lesson in a different way. She commanded the Human Special Operations Training Center, where Earth's best soldiers learned to fight in space. "Remember," Amy told her trainees, "aliens think in patterns. They plan battles like chess games. Every move follows rules." The young soldiers listened carefully. They wore the new human battle armor that Maya Patel's team had designed. It was lighter and stronger than alien equipment. "Humans do not think like aliens," Amy continued. "We improvise. We change plans in the middle of battles. This confuses them." One trainee raised her hand. "Colonel, are we preparing to fight the aliens who helped us?" Amy considered the question carefully. "We are preparing to defend ourselves, if needed. Some alien species are starting to worry about human growth. They ask questions about our expanding trade and colonies." The truth was more complicated than Amy told her soldiers. Intelligence reports showed several alien governments discussing the human problem. Some called human expansion concerning. Others used words like dangerous. Amy had read the classified reports. Human technology was advancing too fast. Human trade was growing too quickly. Human colonies were spreading too far. Some aliens wondered if saving humanity had been a mistake. Back on Earth, President Nathan Brooks read the same reports in his secure office. He had been elected 2 years ago, promising to lead humanity into true independence. The alien debt would be paid on schedule, but humans would never again depend on others for survival. "Admiral Sullivan is here for your meeting, sir," announced his secretary. Kate entered the presidential office, carrying reports from the fleet construction program. "Mr. President, the new ships are performing beyond expectations. We can build vessels faster than any alien species." "How does our debt repayment look?" Nathan asked. "Excellent, sir. At current economic growth rates, we can pay off the entire debt 15 years early." Nathan smiled. Early payment would surprise the Galactic Council. It would also prove that humans were responsible and capable. "What about defense?" he asked. Kate, S expression became serious. "We are ready, sir. If any alien species decides to attack human colonies, they will find us prepared." Nathan hoped it would not come to fighting. Humans owed the aliens their survival. But he also knew that gratitude had limits. If alien concern turned into action against human growth, humanity would defend itself. On the alien capital world of Zenthara, Council Prime Veltash read similar reports about human expansion. The old Zenthari leader felt both pride and worry. "Their progress exceeds all projections," reported his aide. "Human trade volume is now 7% of total galactic commerce. Their technology rivals our own in many areas." Veltash had championed saving humanity 25 years ago. He still believed it was the right decision. But other council members were beginning to question human growth. "What does War Marshal Kethtor recommend?" Veltash asked. "He suggests monitoring protocols. Perhaps limits on human expansion until we understand their full capabilities." Veltash sighed. Kethator represented the Kethmoran military faction that had opposed helping humans from the beginning. They had predicted this situation, humans growing too powerful too quickly. Schedule a council meeting, Veltash decided. It is time to discuss our relationship with humanity again. Neither the aliens nor the humans knew that this meeting would lead to the crisis that would reshape the galaxy. The quiet revolution was about to become much louder. In space between the stars, human ships carried trade goods to distant worlds. Human colonies grew larger and more prosperous every year. Human scientists made discoveries that impressed alien researchers. And in secret facilities on Earth and Luna, human military planners prepared for the day when the galaxy might stop seeing them as grateful refugees and start seeing them as what they had truly become: equals who would not be controlled. 15 years before their debt was due, humanity had become something the Galactic Council never expected. Economic advisor Claire Johnson sat in her office on the human financial world of New Geneva, watching numbers that would have seemed impossible just decades ago. The Terra credit is now accepted on over 800 worlds, reported her assistant, more than the traditional galactic standard. Claire nodded, but her mind was on bigger numbers. Human banks now financed major construction projects across the galaxy. When the Rigel system needed new space stations, they borrowed money from human lenders. When the crystal mines of Vega required new equipment, human companies provided it. What is our total economic output this quarter? Claire asked. 4.7 quadrillion galactic credits, came the reply. That is 12% of all galactic economic activity. Claire smiled at the irony. The debt that had seemed so massive 50 years ago now represented less than 2% of what humans earned in a single year. They could pay it off tomorrow, if they wanted. President Nathan Brooks called her secure communication line from Earth. His face appeared on her screen, looking tired but determined. Claire, I need the real numbers, he said, without greeting. How wealthy are we? Wealthy enough to buy most alien governments, she replied honestly. Our economic growth rate is still accelerating. At current expansion, we will control 20% of galactic commerce within 5 years. Nathan was quiet for a moment. That will scare them. It already has, Claire confirmed. Intelligence Director Alex Cooper sent me his latest reports. 6 species are meeting secretly to discuss managing human influence. The president rubbed his forehead. Show me the debt calculations again. Claire brought up the numbers they both knew by heart. Original debt, 847 trillion credits. With 50 years of interest at 2%, 1.4 quadrillion credits total. We currently earn that amount every 3 months. Recommendation? Pay it off early, Claire said, firmly. Show them we honor our commitments, but also show them our true economic power. On the distant world of Kethmor, War Marshal Kethtor was receiving his own disturbing reports. The insect-like alien studied intelligence data about human economic expansion with growing alarm. They control 17 of the 20 largest banks in the galaxy, his aide reported. Human corporations have majority ownership in 43% of major mining operations. Their shipping companies carry 31% of all interstellar cargo. Kethator's mandibles clicked in agitation. This was not supposed to happen. They were refugees. Charity cases. Sir, there is more. Human medical technology is now superior to our own. Their manufacturing efficiency exceeds galactic standards by 40%. Their ships are faster and cheaper to build than anything we produce. The War Marshal stood and walked to his office window, looking out at the proud spires of the Kethmoran capital. His species had been a major galactic power for over 1,000 years. Now they found themselves economically dependent on a species that had been nearly extinct just 50 years ago. What does Council Prime Veltash say about this situation? He still supports the humans, claims they are proving the wisdom of the original rescue decision. Kethtor growled. Veltash is old and sentimental. He does not see the threat these humans represent. Meanwhile, on Earth, Fleet Admiral Ryan Hayes reviewed classified military reports in the Pentagon's deepest bunker. The situation was more complex than the aliens knew. Our defensive capabilities? He asked General Scott Williams, his chief strategic advisor. Overwhelming, Scott replied confidently. The Morrison drive gives our ships significant speed advantages. Our manufacturing capacity can produce vessels faster than any potential enemies can destroy them. Our soldiers train with tactics no alien military understands. Numbers? We can field 1,200 capital ships within 6 months if needed. Our marine forces are trained for combat in 300 different alien environments. Our intelligence networks operate on over 600 worlds. Ryan nodded grimly. Humanity had not forgotten the lessons of their near extinction. Never again would they be helpless. What about the economic weapon? Ryan asked. Scott smiled darkly. Claire Johnson's plan is brilliant. If any species tries to use force against us, we can crash their economy overnight. Human banks hold the debt of most major alien governments. Human companies control supply chains for essential goods. We could starve them financially before they could mobilize militarily. Dr. Paul Martinez was contributing to human power in a different way. In his research facility on Mars, he had developed medical technologies that alien species desperately needed. The longevity treatments are ready for mass production, he told President Brooks during their weekly science briefing. We can extend the lifespan of most alien species by 30 to 50%. And they will pay well for this? Very well, Paul confirmed. The Xanthari government has already offered 500 trillion credits for exclusive access to the treatments for their species. Brooks was amazed. That is more than half our original debt. Yes, sir. But I recommend we license the technology to all species equally. It will create more long-term economic dependence on human medical research. Intelligence Director Alex Cooper had been monitoring alien communications for months. What he found worried him enough to request an emergency meeting with the president. 6 species have formed a secret alliance, Alex reported. The Kethmaran, Rigel Consortium, Vegan Empire, Altair Republic, Centauri Federation, and surprisingly, the Antares Collective. What do they want? Brooks asked. To impose economic limitations on human expansion. They plan to introduce legislation in the Galactic Council requiring all species to limit their economic growth to 5% per year. Brooks laughed bitterly. A law written specifically to target us. It gets worse, Alex continued. If the legislation fails, they are prepared to use military force to enforce these limitations. 6 species against humanity? Their combined fleets number over 8,000 capital ships. Their economic alliance controls 40% of galactic manufacturing outside human influence. Brooks was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated his communication system and called Admiral Hayes, Claire Johnson, and Dr. Martinez. Emergency, meeting in 1 hour, he announced. We need to decide how to handle a potential war that nobody wants but everybody is preparing for. As the human leadership gathered, none of them knew that Council Prime Veltash was fighting his own battle on the Xanthari homeworld. The old alien leader faced a council of his own species, many of whom now regretted their support for saving humanity. The humans have become too powerful, argued Veltash's political rival. They threaten the natural order of galactic civilization. They threaten your comfortable position as a major economic power, Veltash replied sharply. The humans have succeeded beyond our greatest hopes. This should be celebrated, not feared. They will soon be able to dictate terms to the entire galaxy, another counselor warned. No single species should have such influence. Veltash felt tired. He was old, even by Xanthari standards. The decision to save humanity had been his greatest achievement. Now his own people wanted to undo that work. What do you propose? He asked. Join the coalition. Help limit human growth before it is too late. Veltash looked around the council chamber at faces that had once supported him. Now they showed fear and resentment toward the species they had saved. I will consider your recommendation, he said, finally. But privately, Veltash had already decided. If his people chose to oppose humanity, they would do so without him. The old Zenthari leader would not betray the species that had proven the wisdom of mercy and charity. The galaxy was choosing sides for a conflict that would determine not just humanity's future, but the future of galactic civilization itself. The day humanity was supposed to begin their final debt payments, Commander Luke Morrison stood before the Galactic Council with an offer that would change everything. The son of Jake Morrison carried himself with the same quiet confidence his father had shown 50 years earlier, but he represented a very different humanity. Honored members of the council, Luke began, his voice carrying clearly through the massive chamber. Humanity formally requests to pay our debt in full today. Council Prime Veltash leaned forward in his ornate chair. The old Zenthari had expected this announcement, but many other council members looked surprised. The scheduled payment plan still has 25 years remaining, pointed out War Marshal Kethtor, his insect-like features showing suspicion. Are you certain your species can afford full payment? Luke smiled and nodded to Dr. Helen Carter, humanity's chief cultural expert. She activated a holographic display showing financial data that made several council members gasp. The original debt was 847 trillion galactic credits, Luke explained calmly. With 50 years of interest, the total amount is 1.4 quadrillion credits. The numbers glowed in the air above the council floor. Even for galactic governments, this was an enormous sum. However, Luke continued, humanity believes in paying more than the minimum required. We offer to pay 2.4 quadrillion credits, the full debt plus compound interest calculated at premium rates. War Marshal Kethtor's mandibles clicked in disbelief. That is impossible. No species possesses such wealth. General Scott Williams, standing beside Luke, opened a secure communication channel. Within seconds, confirmation appeared on every council member's display. The human treasury had transferred 2.4 quadrillion credits to the Galactic Council's central bank. The chamber fell silent. Several alien representatives stared at their displays in shock. Additionally, Luke said into the silence, humanity wishes to express our gratitude with a bonus payment of 500 trillion credits to fund galactic infrastructure projects. This time, even Veltash looked stunned. The gratitude payment alone was larger than the entire economy of most council species. This is unacceptable, declared Chancellor Morvex of the Rigel Consortium. No single species should possess such economic dominance. Luke turned to face the alien leader. Are you suggesting humanity should not honor our debts? I am suggesting, Morvex replied angrily, that this level of economic power threatens galactic stability. Dr. Helen Carter stepped forward. Chancellor Morvex, our cultural analysis indicates your species values economic hierarchy. Are you perhaps concerned that humanity has risen above your position in that hierarchy? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Helen had spent 20 years studying alien psychology. She knew exactly what buttons to push. The humans mock us, snarled Admiral Zexkar of the Vegan Empire. They throw money around like children with toys. We honor our commitments, Luke replied calmly. Is this not what civilized species do? War Marshal Kethtor stood up, his tall form imposing even among the giants of galactic politics. This ends now. The Kethmoran Federation formally demands economic restrictions on human expansion. Seconded, declared Morvex. Thirded, added Admiral Zex, quote, car. One by one. 6 species voiced their support for limiting human growth. Luke watched with interest but no apparent concern. And if humanity refuses these restrictions? He asked. Then we will enforce them, Kethtor stated flatly. General Scott Williams stepped forward. With respect, War Marshal, you might want to reconsider that threat. Are you threatening the Galactic Council? Demanded Admiral Zexkar. Not at all, Scott replied pleasantly. I am simply suggesting you review recent intelligence about human defensive capabilities before making decisions you might regret. Kethtor's eyes narrowed. Your species has been hiding military strength? Hiding? Scott looked genuinely puzzled. No, we have been quite open about our defensive preparations. Perhaps your intelligence services need better funding. Helen Carter activated another holographic display. This one showed the locations of human military bases, ship construction facilities, and defense installations throughout the galaxy. As you can see, she explained, humanity has established defensive positions on 417 worlds. Our fleet consists of 2,800 capital ships, with production capacity for 500 additional vessels per month. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Several species had not realized the scale of human military expansion. You have been preparing for war against us, accused Kethtor. We have been preparing to defend ourselves, Luke corrected. The difference is important. Council Prime Veltash finally spoke. Commander Morrison, are you saying humanity anticipated this confrontation? Luke exchanged a look with Helen Carter. The cultural expert nodded almost imperceptibly. Honored. Prime, Luke replied. Humanity has studied galactic psychology for 50 years. We knew that our success would eventually threaten species who believed themselves superior. We prepared accordingly. Arrogant children, muttered Admiral Zexkar. Perhaps, agreed Luke. But children who learn from their parents, the galaxy, taught us that power is the only protection against extinction. We studied that lesson carefully. War Marshal Kethtor was reviewing tactical data on his personal display. What he saw made his mandibles click in alarm. Human defensive positions were not randomly placed. They controlled every major trade route and resource center in the galaxy. You have surrounded us, he realized. We have integrated ourselves into galactic civilization, Luke corrected. The difference is that we did so as equals, not subjects. General Scott Williams smiled grimly. War Marshal, your coalition controls 8,000 capital ships, impressive. However, those ships require fuel, spare parts, and supplies that flow through human-controlled systems. How long do you think your fleet can operate if those supplies stop flowing? The council chamber fell silent again as the aliens realized the implications. Humanity had not simply built a military. They had built an economic stranglehold. You would starve entire civilizations? Asked Chancellor Morvex. Horrified. We would defend ourselves, replied Luke simply. The methods would depend on the nature of the attack. Helen Carter activated a final display. However, we prefer cooperation to conflict. Humanity offers full partnership to any species willing to treat us as equals. The display showed proposed trade agreements, technology sharing programs, and mutual defense treaties that would benefit every species in the galaxy. Partnership or subjugation, summarized Kethtor bitterly. Partnership or independence, Luke corrected. Humanity will no longer accept second-class status in galactic affairs, but we have no desire to rule others. Council Prime Veltash looked around the chamber at his fellow leaders. Fear, anger, and resentment filled alien faces. Then he looked at the young human commander, who stood calmly amid the storm he had created. Commander Morrison, Veltash said slowly, what guarantee do we have that humanity will not abuse this power? Luke considered the question seriously. The same guarantee you gave us 50 years ago when you saved our species. Faith in our character and wisdom. You believed dying humans deserved a chance to prove ourselves. Now we ask for the same faith in living humans. The old Xanthari leader felt a strange mixture of pride and fear. The species he had helped save had become exactly what he had hoped, strong, independent, and capable. But they had also become something he had not expected. Dominant. War Marshal Kethtor made his final play. The Coalition demands an immediate vote on human restriction measures. The Coalition may demand whatever it wishes, replied Luke calmly. But I should mention that human banks hold the sovereign debt of most Coalition species. A vote against humanity might result in immediate loan recalls. The threat was politely delivered, but absolutely clear. Economic warfare would precede any military conflict. This is extortion, accused Admiral Zexkar. This is business, corrected Luke, something humans learned from studying galactic civilization. As the council session continued into the night, it became clear that the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Humanity had not conquered through force. They had achieved dominance through success. and now the species that had saved them faced a choice between partnership and irrelevance. The reckoning had arrived, and it would reshape everything. 6 months after humanity paid their debt in full, President Victoria Stone stood before a very different galactic council. The chamber had been rebuilt with human engineering, making it larger and more efficient. Representatives from 847 species attended, including many who had never been able to afford the journey before. The age of scarcity is ending, Victoria announced to the assembled delegates. The Human Prosperity Initiative offers partnership, technology, sharing, and economic cooperation to any species willing to join us as equals. In the front row, Council Prime Veltash listened with a mixture of pride and amazement. The elderly Zenthari had lived to see his greatest gamble pay off beyond his wildest dreams. Humanity had not become conquerors. They had become builders. What are the terms of this partnership? Asked Ambassador Colthran of the Antares Collective, one of the species that had initially opposed human expansion. Admiral Tony Rodriguez, representing human military interests, stood to answer. No terms, no restrictions, no limitations. We offer our technology, our markets, and our protection freely to any species that wants them. War Marshal Kethtor, who had grudgingly attended the session, made a skeptical sound. Nothing is free, Admiral. What do humans gain from this arrangement? Dr. Sam Anderson, humanity's leading researcher in interspecies cooperation, activated a holographic display showing galactic trade flows. We gain what we have always wanted, a thriving galaxy where all species can prosper. The display showed remarkable changes over the past 6 months. Worlds that had struggled economically for centuries now showed growing prosperity. Species that had been locked out of galactic trade by high costs now participated freely. Human shipping companies transport goods at cost, Sam explained. Human banks offer loans at minimal interest rates. Human manufacturers share production techniques freely. Human medical teams respond to disasters across the galaxy without charge. Chancellor Morvex of the Rigel Consortium, who had been one of humanity's strongest opponents, looked uncomfortable. This generosity makes no economic sense. Ambassador Grace Kim, humanity's chief diplomat, smiled warmly. Chancellor, it makes perfect sense when you understand human psychology. We remember what it felt like to be helpless. We remember how it felt when others helped us survive. Now we pass that gift forward. Captain Diana Lewis, who commanded the II's exploration fleet that was mapping new regions of the galaxy, added her perspective. Every species we help becomes stronger. Every world we develop becomes more prosperous. This creates markets for human goods and services. And, admitted Victoria Stone honestly, it creates stability. A prosperous galaxy is a peaceful galaxy. The presentation continued with examples of human assistance across hundreds of worlds. Terraforming projects that turned dead planets into gardens. Medical programs that eliminated diseases that had plagued species for millennia. Educational initiatives that brought advanced learning to primitive civilizations. The results speak for themselves, Grace concluded. Galactic economic output has increased by 37% in 6 months. Trade volume has doubled. Scientific advancement has accelerated dramatically. Ambassador Felmoth of the Procyon Republic raised a concern. What happens if humanity changes its mind about this generosity? Your species controls too much of our infrastructure now. Admiral Rodriguez's expression became serious. A fair question, Ambassador. The answer is simple. Humanity cannot change its mind. Explain, demanded Keth. Sam Anderson brought up a new display showing the interconnected nature of galactic civilization. Human economic integration is now so complete that damaging other species would damage humanity equally. We cannot hurt you without hurting ourselves. Furthermore, added Grace, human political structure prevents such decisions. Our government requires unanimous approval from all colony worlds before taking any action that affects other species. With 317 human colonies, Getting unanimous agreement for aggressive action is virtually impossible. Victoria nodded. We designed our system specifically to prevent the concentration of power that worried many of you. The discussion continued for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. One by one, species that had opposed humanity 6 months earlier announced their decision to join the Prosperity Initiative. Even War Marshal Kethtor eventually stood up. The Kethmoran Federation formally requests membership in the Human Partnership Program. The chamber erupted in applause from hundreds of species. Only Council Prime Veltash remained quiet, lost in thought. Later, as the session ended, Victoria approached the elderly Zenthari leader. Prime Veltash, you seem troubled. Are you not pleased with these developments? The old alien looked at her with his 4 wise eyes. I am pleased, President Stone, but also concerned. About what? Your species has achieved something unprecedented. In galactic history, Veltash explained, you have gained dominance through virtue rather than force. But power corrupts all species eventually. What happens when future generations of humans forget the lessons of humility? Victoria considered the question seriously. We have prepared for that possibility, Prime. Would you like to see our solution? Intrigued, Veltash followed Victoria to a secure conference room where other human leaders waited. Grace Kim activated a holographic display that showed a massive construction project in deep space. The memorial, Grace explained, a permanent installation built at the exact location where Commander Morrison's father first met with the Galactic Council 50 years ago. The structure was enormous, a space station larger than most moons, but its purpose was not military or commercial. Every human child will visit the memorial as part of their education, Victoria explained. They will see holographic recreations of Earth during the dying time. They will experience what it felt like when humanity faced extinction. They will learn the names of every alien who voted to save our species. Sam Anderson added details. The memorial contains complete records of our debt, our struggle, and our rise to prosperity. No future generation of humans will be allowed to forget that we survived because others showed us mercy. Furthermore, said Admiral Rodriguez, the memorial serves as the headquarters for the Galactic Assistance Corps. Every human serves 2 years helping other species the way aliens once helped us. Veltash was amazed. You have institutionalized gratitude. We have institutionalized humility, corrected Victoria. Power without humility destroyed many species throughout galactic history. We will not make that mistake. Grace activated another display. The memorial also serves another purpose. It is an embassy for any species that feels threatened by human power. They can petition for review of human actions. They can request investigation of human policies. They can even demand changes in human behavior. And humans will comply with such demands? Veltash asked skeptically. If the demands are reasonable, yes, Victoria replied. We give other species veto power over human actions that affect galactic stability. Admiral Rodriguez smiled grimly. Of course, defining reasonable remains a challenge, but we have established review boards with representatives from every major species. Veltash felt a deep satisfaction. The species he had helped save had, indeed, learned the lessons of their rescue. They understood that power without accountability inevitably led to corruption. There is one more thing, Grace said quietly. We would like you to serve as the first Director of Galactic Relations at the memorial. The old Zenthari was surprised. Me? But I am retired from politics. Exactly, replied Victoria. We need someone who understands the balance between power and responsibility. Someone who has seen what happens when species abuse their strength. Someone who remembers why mercy matters. Veltash looked around the room at human faces that showed genuine respect and affection. These were the children of the species he had saved, and they had grown up to become everything he had hoped. I accept, he said simply. As news of the appointment spread through the galaxy, many species felt relief. The Zenthari elder would serve as a check on human power, ensuring that gratitude remained stronger than ambition. 3 months later, Captain. Diana Lewis returned from humanity's deepest exploration mission with news that excited the entire galaxy. Her ships had discovered a region of space containing over 2,000 habitable worlds, rich in resources and ripe for colonization. The new frontier offers homes for every species in the galaxy, Diana announced to a packed council session. Human terraforming technology can prepare these worlds for any form of life. The discovery triggered the largest migration in galactic history. Hundreds of species sent colonists to the new frontier, supported by human transportation, human technology, and human protection. And in the memorial station, Prime Veltash watched it all unfold with deep satisfaction. The debt had been repaid, but the relationship between humanity and the galaxy had become something far more valuable than money. Humanity had trembled the galaxy with their power, but they had used that power to lift up every species they encountered. The children of extinction had become the guardians of galactic civilization. The galaxy no longer trembled in fear. Instead, it trembled with excitement about what they could all build together.